excited to have our newest addition to the Well series, Women Empowering, Leading, and Leveraging in the Real Estate Industry. Ms. Winsey is one of the women who I have always admired, looked up to. She is polished. She is fierce. She is kind and generous. And you'll see her often if you go to any industry events. She is there usually on stage being recognized or just working the room. She pours into people, both within her organization and outside of it. And I am very privileged to have met her. She is a rock star. She is the owner of a ERA Legacy Living in Houston. She has over $1 billion sold in volume with 2 office locations. She's top 1.5% of brokerages in the United States. Top 25 Houston Business Journal Realtors in Houston. 25,000 Instagram followers and an Inc. 5000 company. I know that doesn't really define anything about who you are, though, and what we're going to be talking about today. Yes, you're successful, but what's the background and history to that, and what is the real life look behind the 25,000 Instagram follower front that we get to see? Because I think you and I, I'm always impressed. I see you walk into the room or up on stage, and you really are polished perfection, and you just exude warmth, but there's other stuff always going on in the background. And I think it's important for people in this industry to know, what's the blood, sweat, and tears that got you to where you're at today. So this is your time for our listeners or anybody who comes across this to learn a little bit more about you. And I'd like to just start off with, 23 years in the industry. But how did you get here? Take us back to the beginning and give us a brief overview of what got you to where you're at today.
Yeah, no, Laura, first of all, thank you. And right back at you with everything. I've always admired you. And, you've always brought so much knowledge and warmth. And the minute you and I met, I was instantly connected. So I'm really glad that we're getting to do this, and definitely also very privileged to be a part of this series. But no, it's you wake up one morning or you decide to follow a career path, but you never really know where it's going to lead. Nobody really does. We can plan as much as we want, but we never really do. And so for me, I am originally from Nigeria and Lagos. I grew up in Lagos, so that's somewhere. It's in West Africa, for those who don't know. And so I came here when I think it was probably 25 years ago. I was 18. So, but the cool thing is I always wanted to be a medical doctor. So I graduated.
This is going to be an interesting journey, right?
Right. I graduated from high school 16 years old. I was such an overachiever. I wanted to graduate from high school 2 years early, so I couldn't waste 2 years in medical school, because in Nigeria the time to graduate from med school was actually 6 or 7 years. Anyways, needless to say, there were some political reasons why my parents had to send me here, my sister and I actually, and thus began our journey. We knew that coming to the United States, we would be on our own, and but we accepted that, and then we just decided to take everything our parents taught us. What's interesting is it just began this journey of trying to figure out your new life, your new normal, bouts of homelessness, working at diners, sleeping at diners, sleeping in the car. And you just get to a point of rock bottom. Needless to say, I did not get that medical degree. I did get a degree in information systems and marketing eventually. Took me almost it took me almost 7 years to get those degrees, because I had to pay out of pocket. But but what he did, though, is it created a fire in me, because one thing I did not want to do is be where I was again. So I started my entrepreneurship journey one evening watching an infomercial. It dates back, and then anybody who knows Carlton Sheets, we're probably around the same age, or, or older than me, I don't know. And I learned how to start buying real estate with no money down, and I got really good at putting deals together. So good, I used to help my friends put deals together, and eventually someone advised me to get my real estate license, and I did, and had an amazing first year. And then I had the worst second year ever. It was like almost a 90% drop in my in production. And so in that I got a job in corporate America, and then and eventually pushing the story forward, my husband and I decided it was time for us to really focus on our goals and our dreams. So I left a high six-figure paying job as a global IT director, and opened and then just basically dove in, became a top producing realtor, and eventually opening up our brokerage. So there's a lot packed into that story, but it would take us a lot of time
Oh
to
yeah,
get
I
there.
mean, you are not in 23 years going to be able to
Yes.
smush that into our
No.
time here. But I think that the crux of it is you went from literally homeless, sleeping in your vehicle, making your own way. And, as a single mom leaving an abusive marriage myself, had I not had that network of family, my parents and other friends and people to help get me into homes, I would have been a very different situation
Yes.
for me. And I think that that is where resilience comes from, right? When we look at you now and you are this very fierce and confident and warm and giving person, it's because you understand the full scope of what the
Absolutely.
possibilities are out there. You can understand where somebody's at today, and also their full potential of where they could be if they have that drive and commitment. It really comes through in everything that you do, and leaving that security to become an entrepreneur and dive fully in, it must have been terrifying but
Oh
also
gosh.
exhilarating. So you know how did you then transition from an entrepreneur to back to applying those business dynamics that you used
Absolutely.
and learned?
Yeah. It's one thing I think our business, especially real estate, it's very easy to fall into the hustle, right? Where you're churning properties and you're churning transactions. And, a lot of times we make it look easy, hence what's going on. And I think that contributes to what's going on in the industry today. But what was really important for me was we named our company Legacy Living for a reason. And it's funny how that name came about. I had just gone through a really, really tough day and had some very choice words with some leaders in the industry. And I was just so upset. I rarely really get that upset, but I was really upset that day. And my husband was, we were talking about it, and he had to remind me. I always call him the Mickey to my. He's always my Mickey. He's always in my ear. If I'm
Yeah.
Rocky, he's Mickey. Like he's the guy that picks me up when I'm down, right? And he was doing the whole motivational thing in my ear again, like he usually does. And he said, "Listen, when people are trying to build, live, and leave a legacy, you can't focus on it because your standard is excellence." And I was like, "Hold on, pause right there." I
I
was like,
love
say
that.
that again. And that's
Yeah.
how that's how Legacy Living was born. And that is literally our mission statement is to build, live, leave a legacy. And so we know that part of that was just we couldn't be a normal or regular boutique
Yeah.
or normal or regular full service um um real estate company that we are, but we wanted to make sure that we were identifying agents, avatars like us who really wanted to build a business. Because to be honest with you, that's where we've thrived. In the middle of being a real estate agent, I've owned a day spa, I've owned a hotel, I've owned real estate investments, I've owned a retail store, I've owned several vending machines,
Oh,
you name it. I like being a serial entrepreneur because business is business. And once you understand how to put those things together, it's like having a cheat sheet for
mhm.
whatever it is you wanted to do. So our goal was really to help um, agents who really wanted to do that, who wanted to not just sell real estate, but build something for themselves and build something for their families. And that's the why. That's why we got into this. We can certainly make a lot more money selling real estate,
Yeah.
but this is more of a passion thing for us. So I think I just lost track of your question, but
No,
um,
you answered it perfectly. It was
okay.
about how do you go from a corporate job into being an entrepreneur, but then taking those business principles that you learned and creating an environment. And it really comes down to the structure and being able to translate what you've learned into playbooks or guides to help pass that along. And coming from the backgrounds I think that we both have,
Mhm.
where we've been either with a very thin or no safety net, and
Yes.
understanding that there's opportunity in this industry for the people who have the heart and the hustle and the commitment to the client experience. And it's one of the few places where I think there is equality, right? That
Absolutely.
it's really hard sometimes in the corporate world. Sometimes, as much as we try to set up the parameters and create that space for equality, I don't think it exists as seamlessly as it does in this industry. And that's why I've always been really passionate about it, because it doesn't matter if you are a veteran, coming out of the military, or if you are a young Black woman whose parents have sent her to the United States for political reasons, or a single mom leaving an abusive marriage. Like, there is equality in the opportunity in this industry. And you touched on, some of the recent commission lawsuits and the things that are going to probably change the face of the industry.
Yeah.
I hope for better, right? Like, but the end of the day, it's about, we've made it look too easy, I think, sometimes, right? Like, you mentioned that it is a lot of work
It's a
to
lot of
execute
work.
a deal and to make sure that somebody's biggest investment is well taken care of. And there are the people like you, Jamila, who are doing it the right way for the right reasons. And I think that there have been plenty of people in this industry that maybe aren't or didn't invest the time in the customer experience that they should. And that's why we're at where we're at today. And so if it makes
Yeah.
us a better industry because of what's going on, then great, because we want more of the Jamilas, right, to be the ones that are out there working for the customer and getting deals done. And I want to thank you for the
Thank
investment that you've
you.
made in your agents, to ensure that they are best equipped to, ensure that the customer has a great experience.
No, you're absolutely right. And and I was going to mention this also because I think to touch on that last question too is,
Yeah.
from being an entrepreneur really means understanding your numbers. And we were really big on financials from the very beginning. We did not take a salary or take any money out of the business for as long as I can remember. And it was important for us to continuously reinvest versus take out because we knew that we needed to get to a goal very quickly. And I think that's a lesson for anybody trying to do something like this. It doesn't really matter what business you're in. Just because you see a lot of cash coming in doesn't mean it's your cash to spend.
Yeah,
so,
smart. So
so
smart.
but that's the mindset is, just grit. There were days where we had to figure out, hey, listen, do we pay the mortgage? Do we pay the rent? Do we do payroll? Because there's way more month in cash left and you have to figure it out, right? And
Yeah.
still hold on and keep your feet moving. So it hasn't been the easiest thing. And we've taken a lot of hits in the process, but we have this thing, my husband and I, is that we have to just keep our feet moving. So
Well, and you're doing it for, that transfer of knowledge to, again, ensure it's all about helping other people build that generational legacy, ensuring that they have the ability to grab onto the American dream like you have, and build from it. And it's really powerful to hear you talking about the fact that you are literally taking a financial hit, as you build this out so that other people can benefit from your experience and what your grit and the
yeah.
things that you've learned. And I think that's really powerful. Now, I mentioned at the top of this interview that you're always polished perfection. Like, that's the only, like, I just think of that every time I
I
see you.
love that. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt.
You totally should. I mean, you could rock it, wear it everywhere. But I was surprised when we were visiting, before we turned the recording on, that you've been on a real personal metamorphosis, I think is how you put it, right?
Yes.
And I never would have guessed what you have went through. And it was really, it was impactful to me because, my parents live with me, as I've mentioned, I think on previous sessions of this, due to some health things and different things that have happened. And it's been really actually a pretty fabulous experience. Your dad's living with you, right? And we talked a little bit about you're still dad's girl when you walk in the
Yeah,
house,
well,
and
daddy's girl.
they expect you to, treat them still like dad. And we can run great organizations, but there's a certain amount of humility that comes from those interactions. I think is really beneficial Do you want to
Yeah,
tell
it
us a
keeps me
little bit
grounded.
more about your, sort of that personal metamorphosis and what's been the driver behind that?
Yeah, no, it's I think it's still ongoing. It's funny, well, not funny, but it's interesting when you think about it today. I remember a few months last year, I had one of the most crazy successful years. I think you were there.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
here.
just reached full circle in New York, and I was just celebrating that moment, and I was just recognized as one of the top 40 women in business by the Houston Business Journal. So let's just say it was a rocking good year. And somewhere in between, my mom took ill, and it literally changed the trajectory of everything going on. I got a call at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that was the call that changed my life. And so, from that day through the rest of last year and most of this year, well, beginning of this year, I spent about 85% of my time in the hospital. So a lot of times I was taking some Zoom calls like this in a hospital, in a hospital room, or trying to find places to work. It didn't necessarily feel that way on social media,
No,
but
you didn't, that didn't break through at all. I could tell you from
no,
the
no, no.
boxes
I
that
guess that
follows
was
you.
intentional too,
Yeah.
right? So my mom was a really big part of my why. And being her caregiver was something that really really changed my life. My sister and I were her caregivers. I live here in Houston. My sister lives in San Antonio, so she spent primarily most of her time here. And just seeing her go through what she was going through, and understanding that at some point we were going to have to face end of life, put a lot of things into perspective for me. And so unfortunately we lost her in February of this year. And death is so final.
Yeah.
And so you hold out hope, hoping things are going to, you pray every day and everything else. But I realized a huge part of me was also had just been yacked away, right? And so especially in the time of hope, when the times when we thought that she was doing better. And so, but God had different plans. And I find myself, or I found myself on this journey of really trying to recalibrate a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I mean, there are things I really want to do, like work on my vision board that would literally directly tied to my mom.
Yeah.
And so, and I was like, well, I can't do that anymore. But at the same time, leaning into the pain, trying to really, ask yourself the questions. Because my mom was very big on the whole thing. You work too much, you're always gone, and da, da, da. So of course, all those things ring true. It's unfortunate that we have to literally let ourselves stop to pay
Mm.
attention when you have such a great loss. And so this change has been going on, and I find that the things that were so important to me are not as important. It doesn't take me away from the journey. It did take me from my goals. So I completely redid my vision board. I looked at my vision board. I realized, okay, I've checked up most of it, but I
Wow.
wanted to do a different vision board that was tied to her legacy. I felt like she had passed that baton. And as a matter of fact, I've never really shared this. First time I'm sharing this. A couple of days before she passed away, I just gave up. I said, okay, fine, mom, I got it. Like, please rest. I literally told her that I got it. I got it. I understand now. I didn't want to take it, but I
Yeah.
understand what my responsibility is. And so most of my vision board and things that I have planned are bigger than what I actually thought I would ever do. And I hope that I do get to achieve even a fraction of it. But a lot of it is really tied to her legacy. And it's giving me a new perspective, a new journey. And it's tied to impact. I don't know how many lives can I impact in the time that I have here. So that's a very interesting thing. I think we'll continue to talk more about it, but that's where I am today.
I love it. I love it so much. And you said that, she really talked about dream more and dream bigger, right? When we were
Yeah.
talking, and how clearly her power in that message flowed into you, and you achieved all these things. And I literally have goosebumps right now just talking about this, because I know you well enough to know that you're going to take that baton that she has passed to you, that light or that candle or that flame, and take that same intensity that helped you personally build this legacy for you and your family along with your husband, but also now translate that and really be intentional about how you are pouring into others and giving back, and translating that in her memory. What a beautiful thing to be able to do to honor her.
Thank
So
you. She was a big woman. My favorite thing with her is She would never, nobody ever went hungry in her house. And I didn't see this, when I was growing up, but you start to really, really think about stuff that she's taught you. But she used to, I mean, for the longest, she would take on displaced kids, and then she would literally take care of them till they were old enough and send to trade school and basically give them a life that they would not have
Wow.
otherwise had. And she did that my entire life. And
Wow.
I mean, that she's impacted hundreds of people. And so I don't know, it's big, large shoes to fill, but it gives me hope that because I believe there's just so much more to do.
Tell us her name, if you will.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. I'm gonna put Elizabeth on my vision board because that's what I
Oh,
want to remind myself of is,
thank
how
you.
many lives can we impact while we're here? And I'll do it in honor of Elizabeth and other women like her. So
God, you see, you're gonna make me cry. Stop. These
okay.
lashes are gonna fall off.
We
Thank you
promised,
so
I
much.
promised I would do that. So let's
Yeah,
switch
you
over.
promised me you wouldn't do that.
But it is, she sounds, I wish I would have had the opportunity to meet her. I feel like I do meet her by knowing you, and I'm sure that she's looking down, seeing herself shine out through what you're doing. So
Thank you so
keep
much.
that up and keep inspiring people. You have another resource in your life in addition to your mother, your husband, and
Yes.
you have a very fun podcast that here's wrapping up soon. I think you've only got a couple episodes left, but tell us a little bit about that, because I think this is kind of a fun transition, right? Like,
It is. It
tell
is.
us
Oh
about
man.
winding down with the Winseys. What's that?
So we started this podcast. We're wrapping up the first season. I don't know if we'll do a second season, but we're wrapping up the first season this year. It's called Winding Down with the Winseys, and it's a project we've always had. We've been a couple that work together for as long as we've known each other. We practically met in corporate America. So Patrick has known me practically half my life, sorry. And but everybody knows working together in a business that already has a lot of pressure. The divorce rate is actually 90% for couples who work together. It's crazy. And the last thing that we did not want to do, and the last thing that we wanted was to sacrifice the friendship and the love that we have for each other. So we said, hey, you know what? We're not going to go sit on the couch. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. So we're like, let's just make this our therapy. So we came up with Winding Down with the Winseys. It's really fun show. We talk to other couples who are just like us. How do they survive in business? All the things that they do, funny things, date nights, we
Right.
have a glass of wine or whatever they want to drink. And it's just a fun way to reconnect. And for us, it also exposes us to things that maybe we should be doing as a couple. The goal is to also expand it to other people, not necessarily only always couples, entrepreneurs as well. But this season was really just focused on couples in business, power couples in business, and it's been fun, a lot of fun, and I think that will continue. We just have to figure out if we're going to or not, but it's been fun so far.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So you maybe we'll have more of that. If not, people can grab it anywhere they listen to
Oh yes,
podcasts, I think.
absolutely. So yeah, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Apple and basically all the major platforms, Spotify, YouTube. Yeah, we're distributed everywhere.
Awesome. And so you're now moving and transitioning part in response to the new passion you've been given from this change with your mom and trying to, carry on her legacy. And you're starting a new one called a seven-figure real estate.
Yeah, it's called the Seven-Figure Real Estate Code. I mean,
Okay.
going back to what our original goal for what we wanted to do was create more entrepreneurs. I realized, hey, you can't just do this by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many more people that you can impact. So the Seven-Figure Real Estate Code is part of a bigger vision, but the podcast is going to be focused on entrepreneurship, building a business for real estate agents, and helping them create ancillary income from developments to investments, and then just also just helping them realize what it takes to have a business. And in today's environment, especially with everything that we're going through right now in real estate and all the lawsuits, it's really more important than ever to have a business versus just be transaction based.
For sure.
I mean, and because we're going to see new models come out of this.
Yep.
I mean, just like with any business, when you have disruption, you don't fold up and you don't just pack up. If you have that choice to pivot, you just pivot and you move, change your business model and you keep moving. That's just
Yeah.
the way it works, right? So, and so it's really giving people permission and knowledge and empowerment to be able to run a full-fledged enterprise business.
Yeah. Oh, I think I can't wait. So I will make sure that all of our owners across the nation I work with know about it because I want them to think that way too. And we work with them on it, but it's so important to have these powerful voices of experience that are sharing their knowledge. If that's true
Absolutely.
wealth is the transfer of knowledge. And so thank you for amongst everything else that you're juggling and the weight that you're carrying on your shoulders, really committing to something that you know will have an impact and help people
Yeah, and
create
it's
that
gonna be fun.
legacy because it's generational, right? It impacts not just the person that you're teaching and coaching and training and holding today, like your mom did, but you know their children and their children, and so what a beautiful tribute and way to do that.
Thank
Um,
you.
I mentioned a couple of things at the end of every one of my podcasts. I'd love to know one, if there's any other women leaders in our industry that you think I should interview for this podcast. And two, if there's a book that you're reading or something that's really helping you be inspired right now. So, do you have either of those that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the book. I am reading this book called Fascinate. It is such a fascinating book. I mean, literally a fascinating book, but it's a book that helps you hone into the 7 triggers of what makes you fascinating to other people. So for instance, why do you pick bird's eye peas over a regular label, or why do you pick Pepsi over Coke? You know,
Okay.
what message are they, giving to you? And also, how do you find out what your triggers are so you can help hone into that, right? I mean, and the triggers are not, anything crazy. We all have them. We just use one of the other. It's like a personality profile for how you fascinate others. And attention is currency in today's, we had the gold rush and we
Yeah.
had, the oil boom. Well, guess what? Attention is the new oil. And if you're not figuring out a way to hone in on that and to build yourself and to build your business, then you don't exist. And unfortunately, people don't like to hear that, especially folks that are not embrace technology. But you have to get out there if you are looking to achieve certain things in your life. So it's an
Oh,
awesome book. Sally Hogshead, I think, is the
yeah.
writer. Y'all
Yeah,
check
yeah.
it out.
I'm absolutely going to check it out. I'm like, as soon as we hang up here, I'm going to be on Amazon or well, maybe my local bookstore today.
Yeah.
If I can make the time, go out and grab
Yeah.
that. I'll do a walk to Powell's
And you
Book.
can do
It's a
the
little walk.
Audible because Sally actually is the one that does the narrations on our Audible. And
Oh, cool.
she's so animated. It's funny.
Oh,
So
that
it's
sounds
actually a
fantastic.
really good listen.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's a great tip. And I think, you know, you mentioned attention is currency. That's brilliant. Like, I hope everybody takes that away, writes that down. It's really important to know how to showcase your value, to connect with people in a way that will really resonate with them. I hope that today this has given people an opportunity to get to know a little bit of the deeper side of you and what drives you and the foundation that made you who you are today. Because it's really easy to look at your persistent positivity and your presence as you enter a room and be like, oh, I want to be that. But that came with a lot of hard work. It came with being at the bottom of really difficult situations and just maintaining that grit and that belief and that drive to continue rising up, and empowering yourself and others. And I'm just so inspired by you. I hope that every time I see you, I leave with a big smile on my face. And
I
I
do
think that
too.
you are the face of what the future of our industry looks like. It
Oh,
is
wow.
people who
That's huge. Thank
have
you.
yes, raised themselves up and are committed to giving back and doing things, in a really meaningful but also structured way. It's not just about, a hope is, nothing without a plan. Um,
Mhm.
and so I just want to thank you again for carving out the time to share with us. Last thing, is there another woman that you think I should reach out to?
Absolutely. I want to showcase one of my really dear friends. Her name is Dr. Courtney Johnson Rose. She's
Okay.
actually the current president of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And
Okay.
I have known her for practically my entire career. And I want to showcase her because honestly, a lot of things that have been able to the opportunity to get exposed to would not have happened without my exposure to her. She was like the first, boss babe I ever met. This was over 20 years ago. She was just killing it. And I worked for her brokerage for a little while. And in that short while, she made such an impact, and we've been friends ever since. She's doing some amazing things right now with helping real estate agents with wealth building. Democracy in housing is one of the missions for NARAB. And she is doing amazing things between the Developers Council, which is a school. She's helping raise money for several initiatives in housing, and just a rock star, just a straight rock star. Amazing
Oh,
story. You would enjoy having a conversation with her.
I would love that. So I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna let you set that up and see if we can get that out there. I'd love to have her voice showcased.
Absolutely.
This has been such a pleasure. I can't wait to see you again in person at our next
Yeah,
event, or maybe I just need to get down to Houston and come say hello, or come on up to
either
Portland.
works.
We'll hang. It'll be fabulous. But I'm so excited for you. I'll be tracking, as you know, all of your future successes and podcasts and books, and looking forward to every single one of them. So thank you
Uh,
again.
Same here, same here. I'm really excited. I can't wait to see you soon. And I
Yeah,
think we start our travel schedule back in January again. So,
that's right. That's right.
but no,
Okay.
this has
Well,
been so much fun. Thank you.
enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see each other soon.
See you soon. Take care, Laura.